All right. Good evening, everybody. For the record, Thursday, July 8th, 2021. It is 5:15 p.m. The City Council is out of executive session. I've called the meeting to order. As always, we start with a pledge to our flag. So, Councilmember Huffaker, let's do it again, okay?
All righty.
Thank you.
Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Huffaker. And for the record, we have 6 council members present today. Councilmember Hornby is on vacation this week. Our first item on the agenda, the consent items, which would include approval of this evening's agenda, the vouchers, and our minutes from the previous meetings. I'd entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve the agenda, vouchers, and minutes from previous meetings.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Huffaker, second by Councilmember Bailey to approve this evening's consent items, including the agenda as presented, the vouchers, and our minutes from the previous meetings. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So we have a great proclamation tonight regarding Parks and Recreation Month, and we see a number of our parks staff here today, and Lyle, who runs the Parks Board. So I think Councilmember Cuevas, do you have that to read into the record? So let's get that done, and then
Whereas parks and recreation activities and experiences provide opportunities for people to live, grow, and develop into contributing members of the community. And whereas parks and recreation enrich life experiences for members of our community. And whereas park and recreation agencies in the community provide outlets for physical activities, socialization, and stress-reducing experiences. And whereas parks, playgrounds, trails, natural areas, and recreation and aquatic facilities make our city an attractive and desirable place to live, work, play, and visit with, which contributes to our economy vitality. And whereas parks and natural areas provide a welcome respite from our fast-paced, high-tech lifestyles while protecting and preserving our natural environment. And whereas parks and recreation agencies touch the lives of individuals, families, groups, and the entire community, which positively impact the social and economic health and environmental quality of our city. Now, therefore, I, Frank Kuntz, Mayor of the City of Wenatchee, do hereby proclaim July 2021 as Parks and Recreation Month in the City of Wenatchee and encourage all citizens to join me in participating in and supporting the many recreational programs and facilities provided by the public and private agencies. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the Great Seal of the City of Wenatchee to be affixed on the 8th of July, 2021. Frank J. Kuntz, Mayor.
thank you, Councilmember. So Lyle and David, come on up. I see the matching staff shirts today. Sorry, sir. Lyle, nice to see you again.
Good seeing you.
I'll give that to you. Introduce your team to the folks. And I just want to say something really fast. These guys have done an amazing job over the last, I don't know, 16 months trying to juggle COVID and parks are open, parks are rules open, rules closed. The governor changes his rules all the time. David isn't sleeping anymore. But thank you all. And so introduce your team to the council. And
Yeah, so actually on that note, we did get 3 new COVID guidelines released that we're having to now adjust again. Even though we thought we were done. So we've got Cammie Coble, our admin assistant, Charlotte Mitchell, our capital projects manager, Sydney McElroy, one of our 2 recreation coordinators, Gina Shaw is our other one, and then Carol Andre, our recreation supervisor. And of course, Rob Richards and all the crew out there doing all the maintenance stuff. They're not here this evening. Rob's
And 50
actually in
temps.
Utah. And who?
50 temporary.
50 temporary staff who are out there in the parks all summer long, leading kids.
Surviving the heat with kids camp.
all right, picture.
Cammie, you're
Awesome.
back.
You're up.
Of course, where?
What are you moving for? Can we be this close without masks now?
One.
You bet.
Well, it's like I'm behind.
You're in the back.
Thanks, everybody.
More of a human resources
Yeah, and swim meets and splash pads, and they're just got it all going on.
Yeah.
All right, our next item on today's agenda is citizens' comment. This would be a time if any member of the audience wished to address the council on any item that's either on tonight's agenda or not, except for our public hearing item, for which we will take public testimony. So anybody wish to address the council on anything? Come on up, sir. You can run Lyle over, it's okay.
Mike?
Come on up, you betcha. You're on TV at home. Yeah.
Hi.
Welcome.
Got cameras behind you, TV set, security.
The door is locked downstairs. I'm not sure if anyone else wants to come up to the meeting, but it's hard to get in.
It should be
And we were
unlocked.
all like waiting and had to wait for someone. Okay, so it's unlocked now?
Yeah.
I'll go unlock it again.
Okay,
unlocked when I came in.
Yeah.
okay. Anyway,
Sit down, relax.
Hit and miss.
Name and address.
Should we fingerprint them first or not? We okay? All right, very good.
my name is Stone Parker, and I'm here in regards to the skate park. And there's a few people that have tried to come, but the door's locked.
Okay.
And
We'll check.
we're just hoping that we can either change the policy or look at the policy or just turn on the lights, period, because it's too hot to use the skate park, Hale Skate Park down here, and we'd like to have the lights on. Right now, the policy is it's only open from dawn till dusk, and it needs to be open after dusk. Hopefully till 10 o'clock at least, if not later. The kids need to be out there playing. It's too hot in the day. If there needs to be some sort of provisional situation that we can vote on and agree on and get those lights turned on, that would be great. Even if it's just for a short term for summer to see how it goes. But right now the lights aren't on and we spent a lot of money and time putting lights in. It should be on. So I came down as a voice to say, hey, can we either change the policy? Because right now the policy is that any city park can only be used dawn till dusk. Well, right now dusk is 9:30 and it's hot till 9. But I mean, you understand where we're going?
Yeah, and you understand why we have a policy, because we've had lots of vandalism in the parks and, you know,
Yes.
and they're public spaces, and so we've really struggled with the right way to deal with.
Okay,
sort of an overall
those
program.
lights that are there are supposedly security lights.
Right.
And if you don't have the security lights on, then what's the point of the vandalism and all that?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a twisted nutshell.
Right.
So I came to say, man, we need to change the policy, especially for at least this skate park that we just put so much energy and money into and time to make happen. And I didn't think I was going to be the first person to bring this up, but here I am.
You are, and you got past fingerprinting, so that was good.
Yeah.
So for us, David, to do that, we would have to change our policy and make Hale Park one that's open longer. Is there other parks that would apply to something like that have lights that not aware of?
The only other park that we have.
Yeah, you better come up since, yeah.
Yeah, the only other park that we have lights on at all, other than the general security lighting, is Methow Park with a soccer court down there.
Okay,
To change that, it's in the city code, so we would have to change the city code
right.
to allow it, and then also change the signage out and all of that in the parks.
Could we do it specifically just for Hale Park and leave Methow Park off of it?
You could, yeah. Previously, we had 2 separate hours. One's dawn to dusk up in the foothills, and then all the city parks at that time, well, up until last October, were 6 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay.
So in that case, those were separate.
And to turn the
Probably-
lights on, is there timer units you'd have to set it to turn on and turn off? Or is it a manual? You sit at home on your iPhone and do it? What happens?
I wish, no. Yeah, it is. It
Okay, so
is
there'd be
a timer.
Timer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I don't know if that would be confusing for
And if
officers.
we wanted to do something sooner than that, what would we have to do? If we decided to do it on a temporary basis for the next 30 days, what would we have to do as a council?
Yeah, I would have to defer to legal on that one. I don't know that I have the ability to overwrite the city code.
Well, we did something similar recently for garbage service. They can now start at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
We were able to do that with just city authority.
Yeah.
That wasn't in our code, though, I don't believe.
No,
Well, it's a noise ordinance. So it is kind of in our city code, so it's overriding our noise ordinance.
We could bring an ordinance back to the next meeting if you want to speed it up.
so that's 2 weeks. And what would that ordinance say?
Well, I got to look at the code, but
Okay.
whatever you tell me, we can increase the hours.
Council have any thoughts on that?
So I have a question. If we are dawn till dusk, then when are the lights ever on?
Exactly. Right now, they put in all that money and the lights aren't even on at all.
So remember, we put the lights in long before we changed on to dusk because of the vandalism problems we were having at all of our parks. And so the way to sort of limit the vandalism after the lights were already in is we said, we're going to go dawn to dusk to give our police some authority to do stuff because of all the vandalism we have at all of our parks, right? Poor David, they've filled the splash pad at Meth Hill Park full of rocks. They bust the stuff at Lake Locomotive Park all the time. Even down at Hill Park, the fence gets broken. So there's lots of, and we thought the best way at that time was to say dawn to dusk. So if it's nighttime and the police officer sees somebody in what a park is that they could normally be in, at least we could go approach them and so that was a tool that we had to do that. So that's why we did what we did.
And I get
Yeah.
that.
And we
So now
have
we-
allowed,
When are we using the lights though?
yeah, so we
Well,
haven't,
again, like you said, the lights were put in before we
We
changed
changed-
it to dawn.
Yeah.
It was, or.
And we do
dusk
have-
would be
Right
used-
now, are we using the light?
No.
not right now. We do have provisions, though, to allow for programs. So, for example, Apple Blossom goes in the evening, concerts in the park. Now they're done at 9, but it could be dark in the past. Movies in the park, Fiestas Mexicanas. So there's program provisions. And actually, one of the people that called, I offered that up. I said, I'm more than happy to work with you to set up like a Friday night skate clinic or something like that. And they
Yeah.
weren't.
And I called
interested.
too, and I talked to Charlotte from Park and Recs, I believe, and she said that if you set up an event, well, the event at the moment is summer for the kids. And in a few weeks, it's going to be 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. It's going to keep getting shorter.
Right.
And there's still that much time that we need to have the kids out there playing. I've only used the park here twice or 3 times, but it came through. I saw it on the front page of the Wenatchee World today.
Yeah.
And my kids' skateboards. I came down here to say, what's going on?
So council would.
Part of the other thing the event does, though, is it puts somebody in charge and somebody's responsible for making sure that everything's happening. And that's part of the gray area here. If you create an event and you put somebody in charge of that event and they make sure that everybody's following the rules, we can see some leeway in that. But if it's just, it's a general event, nobody's in charge, then we have the vandalism issue. And, it would be wonderful if everybody would take care of it. But to Dave's point, we haven't experienced that. And so we've been trying to figure out how can we do the best way? And that's when we did decide to change it from 10 o'clock to dusk.
Would you have the vandalism issue, though, if you've got all these people down there actually using the facility? I mean, doesn't that kind of keep that element out of the area?
I think it's worth giving it a try, right? I mean, my view of the world is let's give it a try for 30 days and see what it looks like. And my only issue is, do you leave it open till 10, 10:30? When do you have the iPad shut off the lights? Yeah.
Well, I guess, maybe this is stretching it a little bit, but, okay, so we do this.
Right.
Apparently the skaters don't want to go out in the morning, right, when it's cool.
They do, and it's hard.
But we have the splash pad, let's say at Rotary Park, are we going to light it so it stays longer? Or
Right.
when the basketball court gets converted, so you can do pickleball and basketball, and we're asked to put in lights, and we do, are we willing to leave the lights on at Rotary Park for disc golf?
Yeah.
and
So what I would tell you is
pickleball?
So what, the reason I mentioned Hill Park is because it's in an industrial area for the most part. There's not a lot of houses down there. It's against the track. I'd guess the biggest issue would be probably across the river and not so much, because I don't think I would give the same answer to Rotary Park, or I would give the same answer to a pocket residential park as I would to Hale Park or it's in an industrial area.
Yeah.
And that's my view. I mean, that's-
Sure,
yeah.
and yet I would, because it's access for everyone to
Right.
recreational facilities, no matter if you're a skateboarder or a disc golfer.
Right.
The city can't, I don't want to say discriminate, but is.
Pick and choose.
Yeah, pick and choose which group gets.
Yeah.
And it
One of the
realize
differences
neighborhoods
though here, they already have the lights here.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
already have the lights, and we already went through the process to get that park with lights, and they're not just stadium lights, they are security lights.
Yeah.
They're safety lights. And this is all the stuff I learned from talking to the same woman again at
Yeah.
the Park and Rec, that they're not necessarily stadium lighting like they have at Walla Walla, but we already went through the due process of getting the lights so that they can stay open till 10 in an industrial area like you're saying.
Yeah, I look at that
should
different than
clarify
residential,
that
but, yeah.
the skateboarders didn't raise any money for the lights. It was all city grant, or not from the city, but it was state grant funding that we were able to go do. We were able to modify the scope of the project to even get those lights put in.
Yeah,
So,
didn't we
Use them.
move money from the Chase Park project to?
yeah, we moved
We
some money. Well, it went the other way, actually. Yeah.
I got a question for you. How late you want to go? I mean,
Me personally, I'd love to see it on all night. I think it's safety issue. It would be, but looking at our realistic scenario, I think we should probably stay open till 10.
okay, because I mean, I don't know, maybe parents have curfew hours.
Yeah, I
Parents
see that
drive them
too.
up, and I mean, I wouldn't want my kid to be out on the late night skate party. I mean, I'm just curious.
Yeah, no,
How
I'm with
late?
you on that. I've been to skate parks where they've been on till late at night, and then all of a sudden they turn off and everyone goes home. And that's what I see happening here is 10 o'clock or just after 10, 11 o'clock, the lights just magically go off.
Yeah.
Oh, well, time to go. And that's also when you typically have a patrol come through and no one's there. Great, they leave.
I'm kind of in the opinion that we should give it a try. If we can find a legal way to do a 30-day temporary thing.
I second that.
You don't have a vote.
Not yet. Maybe he'll
I
run.
didn't even know I had a voice here.
So you guys, so what do you think? You want us to have the,
I mean, it's on my district. I kind of want to see that too, you know, if the constituents want it, let's give it a try. Let's give it a shot, you know? Protect the park.
so there's
take care of it,
two,
you know?
there's two parts to this. Do we start tomorrow night? Or do we wait till we change an ordinance because we want to wait until we change an ordinance?
We do a temporary?
We would have to wait at least till Monday when we have maintenance personnel
Okay,
around that could
all right.
actually change,
Got
put the lights
the four
to work.
410s? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm,
If it's doable, you know, on Monday, I would be okay with doing it right away if it's legally doable. If not, then we have to wait.
I can't imagine this is something that we would run around waiting for a code change to do. If it's something that the council thinks is doable, and we ask our parks director to do that as our city attorney drafts some language for us. I'm okay starting it on Monday. I just want to make sure that we're okay with the time because it's going to basically do what you just said. At some hour, the lights are going to go off. So I would like to make sure we agree on what that sort of looks like. So we're looking 10, 10:30?
To me, 10 o'clock made sense because that's what the parks used to be open to is till 10 o'clock.
You okay with
Yeah,
10?
10.
Get up here, tell me what your group, okay, so now you get a vote.
No later than 10. No later than 10. No.
So your job is to tell us what time you think.
Well, just to let you know, my name's Casey Cooper.
Casey.
Kind of a background real quick. I worked with Dave and the Parks and Rec to, you know, for the design committee and the build committee for, you know, our skate park. And it's a world-class park. And you guys have done, you know, cities did it right or done it right. But kind of my deal is, you know, when the lights were off and before they were put in down there at Hale, we were having so many issues. People using the park, you know, the bowls as like bathrooms, like human waste. I mean, it was disgusting. And then the lights got turned on, and a lot of that stuff went away. And, you know, and it is a safety deal. The dog park and the trail too, where they, you know, put the lights with the trail there to the dog park. So that lights that trail. and then we have the 2 lights in the skate park, and, I honestly, I would like to see them lit all night. I printed a couple different studies for public skate park development guides. I could just leave them with you guys to read over.
So let's assume that all night's not going to be the answer tonight. What's your second choice?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, we could start it till 10:30 or 10 or whatever you guys want to do. But I mean, I'm saying from like a personal standpoint,
Okay.
I'm down there every night and we see less issues when the park is lit. I mean, those people, and I want to really like iterate that it's not the skateboarders or anybody using that park that's causing the problems. It's
I know.
the people that are up to no good. And really what we've seen is the darkness kind of brings them in.
Yeah.
And that light keeps them out.
So let's do this. Let's start till 10 o'clock.
Mhm.
We'll start on Monday.
Okay.
You guys come back in 2 weeks and tell us what's going on.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do
That
that
work?
definitely.
And we'll try not to lock the front door. Okay?
Or maybe we will.
Maybe we will, who knows? Okay? So we'll see you 2 weeks from tonight, and you're going to come back and tell us how things are going. Whether 10's the right number or whatever, but that work?
Thank you for listening.
Okay.
Thank you for coming in.
Okay.
Thanks for quick action.
Well, I didn't want to wait 2 weeks because this is the time you guys want to use it, so we might as well start
I got
now.
word of this through the kids,
Thanks for coming in.
and, yeah.
Okay, we'll give it a shot.
Thank you.
All right.
Don't ever say the government works slow. All right, anybody else wish to address the council on any particular item that's not on today's agenda? All right, we'll get started on our agenda items then tonight. So we have 4 action items and a public hearing regarding the annexation. So the first is regarding the interlocal agreement with the Columbia River Drug Task Force. Chief?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. The item before you is it's time to renew our interlocal agreement with the Columbia River Drug Task Force. Specifically, the agreement allows all agencies within the valley here, specifically City of Wenatchee, Chelan County, Douglas County, and East Wenatchee, to enter into this interlocal agreement to deal with multi-jurisdictional narcotics and drug task force issues. Salaries for our contribution, and salaries and benefits is for one of our officers. That's taken directly out of the City of Wenatchee police budget. The other items that come along with keeping that group afloat, training, vehicles, other travel expenses are all taken out of the Columbia River Drug Task Force's operation funds, which is generally funded through federal grants and asset forfeiture seizure dollars. So there isn't a financial impact other than those that are listed in the contract. And I'm asking for your signature, approval for the signature of the mayor on this contract.
But Chief, I asked you the other day, and I think that, and I don't remember if the other council members were here, obviously we've got the court case that makes possession not quite as illegal as it was before. Still usefulness to having a drug task force?
Yeah, I mean, the drug activity is not stopping. Yes, it's more difficult to actually get confidential informants, but our folks are working right now, and they're doing a case right now. So still very active in that regards. It's a little more difficult. I think you're going to see some of our cases drop, but it is a very specialized area of law enforcement that requires highly skilled individuals to work these type of cases. The other piece that I would say is also extremely important to this valley is the drug or the gang enforcement aspect of it, because you can't disassociate the two issues. Honestly, in combination with our Special Services Division, they've been doing a very good job in that respect. Still have some graffiti issues around town, but as far as violent crime, it's being addressed very rapidly. So I think that's the force multiplier when you have these jurisdictions working together without boundaries of the river, county lines, or whatever, they can really insert themselves very quickly, rapidly, and start working those cases and get them to prosecutions.
And Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is more focused on going after somebody who's distributing or selling, that kind of thing. You're not looking for the individual user so much. So those rules of possession get thrown out the door when they've got a trunk full. And
Absolutely. I mean, the difference there is kind of what I alluded to, is some of the working the cases start at the possession level, somebody that has actually purchased the drugs, and turning them into confidential informants, kind of working up the food chain. But their specific activity is based in trafficking of large quantities of drugs, and it's not just the illegal street drugs, it is also pharmaceuticals, as well as counterfeit drugs that are laced with fentanyl instead of what is actually printed on the tablets. They're manufacturing those in different parts of this country as well as across the southern border, and there's continuing trafficking that goes on. We are kind of a north-south access point for this state, not as bad as maybe I-5 corridor or even I-90 going east and west, but there's a fair amount of drugs that come through this area, and in light of the Blake decision, I think that it's very important to keep this organization up and running in order to deal with that.
thank you.
You bet.
All right, any questions for Chief?
Yeah, Chief, one quick question here. You're talking about your operational funds coming primarily from grants and forfeitures. What kind of a, I guess, what kind of a budget does that generate for you? Do you have any of your own vehicles, or are you still using each agency's vehicles and those kinds of things?
No, we use a cross-section of commonly used cars. Those are all purchased through, we have an operating budget at the Drug Task Force that kind of hovers around $280,000 to $350,000, depending on asset forfeiture seizures in a given year. Our federal dollars have kind of drived up a little bit. There's still continuing to be problems all the way through our federal government for releasing some of those funds. I believe the last time that we received funds was back in 2017, and we're still waiting on some of those back funds to filter in. There are a lot of drug task forces across the state that are struggling because of that fact. It's difficult to keep those units in force and keep them staffed, particularly where there's problems with recruitment around the state, and a lot of those high performers get pulled back to the street and actually end up back on patrol. We're very thankful to have a very solvent drug task force here locally, and I don't see that changing too much.
Thank you.
Any questions for Chief? If none, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move for City Council to approve the interlocal cooperative agreement with the Columbia River Drug Task Force and authorize the mayor's signature.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Harold, second by Councilmember Cuevas to approve the interlocal cooperative agreement with the Columbia River Drug Task Force and authorize the mayor's signature. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Jeremy Hoover, you got the next one. Interlocal agreement with Chelan County for the construction of the Knowles Road sewer extension.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members. Jeremy Hoover, Senior Utility Engineer. I'm going to talk about the Knowles Road project. Basically, we're going to be extending a sewer system up Knowles Road in conformance with the current adopted sewer comprehensive plan. The extension of the sewer will extend from School Street north to American Fruit Road. This is being done or designed as part of the city's efforts to complement the Chelan County roadway reconstruction project. They're going to be expanding the roadway, installing sidewalk, curb, gutter, storm drain infrastructure. The Chelan County PUD is also going to be replacing a large section of their water line infrastructure, getting rid of some aging pipes. And as part of this project, we want to go ahead and put in the sewer line before the roadway gets repaved. The county will be leading the project, and the purpose of this interlocal agreement is to allow us to participate in the cost sharings and reimburse the county for the construction costs that they incur by their contractor during the course of building out the new sewer line as well.
Timing for this project?
We're looking at spring of next year, most likely. We have some other projects that we're hoping to get done ahead of time. That's kind of to be determined at the moment. But we're looking probably spring construction, maybe summer, depending on the county schedule.
Well, I want to commend you and the other agencies for all getting together and working together to do all of this work at one time. Wenatchee has a long history of putting in something and tearing it up and putting something else in, or PUD comes along and wants to tear it up. So anytime we can get these kinds of efficiencies, that makes me a happy person.
Thank you.
And with
It's just a long ways out there, though. Now we've got a sewer line all the way out of School and Easy, and we don't have it on, Walnut Street. But
Yeah.
that's okay. It sort of is what it is, right?
Yeah, if we build it, they will come, right?
Exactly, yep.
Yeah, there we go.
Yep. So I'd entertain a motion if we had one.
All right, well, Your Honor, I have to make a motion for City Council to approve the interlocal agreement between the City of Wenatchee and Chelan County for the construction of Knowles Road sanitary sewer improvements and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Bailey, second by Councilmember Esparza to approve the interlocal agreement between the City of Wenatchee and Chelan County for the construction of the Knowles Road sanitary sewer improvements and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Jeremy. Jacob, bring us some good news. Or bring us some news.
Start with news.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jacob Heiler, Engineering Services Manager. While Jesse's pulling up sorry, I'll stop touching. Like that mouse is moving and I'm not doing it. Okay, thanks, Jesse. So I'm here tonight to talk about the Washington Street Traffic Calming Project. The city received some TIB Complete Streets grant funding, $700,000 worth back in 2019. It's composed of a variety of different improvements throughout the city, and so one of those is the traffic calming improvements on Washington Street. So I'll run you through kind of a couple of different options. So we'd earmarked $75,000 for this improvement. This is on the screen here is a drawing that shows what the existing configuration is. There's by the county campus on Washington or right around Douglas Street. And so there's currently a crosswalk across Douglas on the west side and then one crosswalk crossing Washington Street. So we put together a couple different options and presented them to the county, one of which is this median option, which is shown here. So medians on both sides with a refuge area for the one crosswalk that's currently there. Another one that would do bulb outs on that south crossing with a raised crosswalk, which you can kind of see in this picture here. And then lastly, a raised intersection with crosswalks on all three legs. This one's a little bit more, a little fancier than what we're proposing. So this one shows, concrete and brick inlay. We're just looking at asphalt and striping for this project. But anyway, so the county came back and said that the raised intersection is the intersection they desire. And so we asked them for $60,000 to help bring this to fruition. And so they came back and said, we'll meet you at $45,000. And so they've committed to contributing that to our project. We proceeded with design and advertised the project on June 17th. The city received 2 bids. And the unfortunate news is the lowest responsible bidder was Rudnick and Sons. They came in about 44% over our engineer's estimate. It's always good to hear from the council. So yeah, 125,000 was our estimate. 181,000 is where our bid came in. So with that said, staff is still recommending moving forward with awarding the contract. Although it is above our engineer's estimate, this, as part of our TIB Complete Streets program, there is some flexibility in how that funding gets used. And so I've shown on here what the left side of the screen shows the work plan as submitted. And there have been changes to that over time, as you'll see for a couple examples. Our Elliott Street project that we constructed last year, for instance, had $100,000 earmarked for it. We ended up spending just south of $160,000 on it. And so there's some flexibility there to move money around. The other reason we recommend moving forward with this is there is a new call for projects at the end of this year for the TIB Complete Streets program. In order to be eligible for that program, we have to have spent the grant award that we received previously. And so there is an option to reject bids, put it back out and construct early next year, but that would likely mean that we're not eligible to apply again to this program. So with that in mind, staff recommends moving forward, but I know we're asking a lot here, so I'd be happy to take any questions.
And I will tell you that the Finance Committee talked about it today and unanimously approved going forward. I think mostly because we got some county dollars in this and complete street dollars in this, so there's not any city general fund money in it. It's something that we've talked about for a while. When Laura and I have our monthly meetings with the council, with the commissioners, the first thing out of their mouth is, when is this project going to get done? It does include a 5-way stop at King, Douglas, Washington, and King, or whatever the 5-way intersection is, which also will slow down traffic and really, I think, help. And I know the commissioners are really excited about both of those projects in order to make it safer to cross it in their area. So
Yeah, thank you for filling that in.
yeah, that was something that the commissioners are very excited about.
So my question, I'm assuming that one of the big expenses is the asphalt itself with the price of oil and so on. Is there any way to reduce the size of the hump, not necessarily in height, but in width, and accomplish the same thing?
So our current design goes basically crosswalk to crosswalk. And so the striping's not shown on this drawing, but our crosswalk is here, and then we immediately taper back down to what the current grade is. And so that would be no, is the short answer to that.
That works.
Without going back to the county.
You were trying to talk your way into a yes, you just couldn't get.
I can't do it. So we're only raising 3 inches currently with this design. So it's not a full 6-inch.
Only 3 inches.
3 inches, yep. And that's a typical speed hump, which you'd expect from other areas. It's in conformance with what FHWA recommends, and so yeah, it's not overly thick as is.
And
how does that work with your snowplow?
We have coordinated extensively with our streets crew. I don't think they're overly excited about it,
but again, it's no different than a hump would be. They still have to slow down and get their blade to slide over it. And
yeah.
Is there any way to go back to the county and ask them, hey, we originally asked you for 60 and this
We
came in?
can. They probably give it to us, but they're spending general fund money and we're spending complete streets money, right? We're spending the state's money. They're spending their own money. It seems to me like this is one that, they gave us $700,000 of complete streets money. I think we need to spend it on great projects. It's a little bit sad. This is a little bit high. I don't know that you would get better bids if you waited in 4 or 5 months. We're seeing some interesting bidding climates. We had what was the Peachy Street something with no bids,
Yeah.
right? And so literally you had $1 million project and got no bidders. And so this isn't perfect, but I think this is one we probably should move forward with. I think the county will love us more. They already love us, but they'll love us more. And then we're going to be back in doing more complete street asks next time around. And we can, sometimes with TIB, if we don't get all the money spent, they come back and go, hey, why are we giving Wenatchee any more projects? We go out and say, hey, look, we spent all your money and here's what you got for it. They go, okay. And they'll look at us more favorably. So I really think this is one we ought to just sort of grin and take one and get her done. Get her done. Any questions from anybody else?
So Jacob, correct me if I'm misunderstood or misheard. The actual crosswalk coming off of Douglas Street there to go over to the courthouse will just be on that east side of Douglas Street there. There won't be a crosswalk coming on the other side?
Yes, there they are.
So we'll have a crosswalk on all three.
Oh, they have it on both. Okay,
Yep.
okay. I
Yeah.
misunderstood that. Okay,
Yep. And so it'll add a crosswalk on the north leg that's not currently there.
okay. So
Okay, so, yeah, I guess that's where I was thinking is, why can't you just reduce it back down to one and?
Sure. And so that's going back to a few options that we put together originally. So this was one of them that we presented to the county, and they weren't, they preferred the raised area.
Then they can pay for the extra.
Well, but I seem to remember that it's this crosswalk that had the most concern among county leadership and the employees. That this is the one that's.
Yeah, I can't speak to that.
They would like us,
Really-
they would like
really
us,
concerned
they
about.
would like us to shut down the street,
Yeah,
right? They would
and
like
we
us to-
reduced the speed limit down to 20.
Right, but we've done, so the five-way stop is gonna help a bunch, and the ones are gonna be going 50 around the corner. And they've asked this for pedestrian safety, which is something I think that
Why do we need two crosswalks 10 feet apart from each other?
that's what they want, and for $45,000, that's what they got. Yeah. Because we could turn down the 45, and then we wouldn't build that, and we would just do what we're doing. Seems to me like we should give them most of what they're asking for.
And again, it's not coming out of our budget.
That's what's coming out of our money.
It's everything.
Yep, it's
Okay.
all coming from Complete Streets, and it's our job to be good stewards of that money, but at the same
Exactly,
token,
and
yeah.
that's my point. You got to be good stewards of it.
Mhm.
Well, I guess, Keith, my response to your question there is that based on my observation of human nature, it's expecting a lot for somebody coming down the west side there to make two crossings. People are going to cut across. They're on that other side. They're going to cut across. They're not going to take the crosswalk. You see that all the time. So,
But the whole idea of this is to slow cars down. And if cars are slowed down because they're going over a hump, you're right, and it's still going to happen. Because somebody who parks down at this end and wants to go get their license is still going to just walk across the street. But if cars are going slower, the next thing we'll hear is they're going to be upset about the acceleration of cars afterwards, and we'll have to have drive quietly signs. I'll shut up.
You want to?
So, Your Honor, I'll make a motion for the city council to award the construction contract for the Washington Street Traffic Calming Project to Rudnick and Sons Excavation and authorize the mayor to sign the construction contract documents.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Esparza, a second by Councilmember Kulas, to award the construction contract for the Washington Street Traffic Calming Project to Rudnick and Sons Excavation and authorize the mayor's signature on construction contract documents. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jacob. Pump track, Mr. Erickson.
Hmm?
Good evening again, Mayor, Council, Dave Erickson, Parks and Recreation Director.
Kids are playing. So-
I thought we'd start with a little refresher on the project,
Okay.
on the Lincoln Park
Yeah,
project.
that'd be a good idea.
And better than you looking at pictures instead of me. All right, so let's get this to slideshow from the beginning. So Lincoln Park project. All right, so everybody kind of should know Lincoln Park's in South Wenatchee, 1410 South Mission Street. Some historical stuff I thought was kind of fun. So the park is a reclaimed landfill. It's dedicated as a park in about 1958, developed in the early 1970s through RCO grant funds. The stage was put on in 1976 through some donations. The restroom was built. That's in the center and the bottom. 1970, the play area, that's probably the one the mayor played on, and survived, is 1972, and then the picnic shelter was actually built in 1971. Of course, the park is used for a whole variety of things, from fiestas mexicanas, tardeadas programs, to movies, concerts in the park. and just, regular park uses, so baseball, sledding, that type of thing, picnicking. And of course, over the years, even with regular maintenance of primary park features, were both abused by vandalism, but then also just kind of rotted and wore out. The center picture on the bottom was the old stage backdrop, where you can see it's rotted all the way down the timbers, the main supports. So that kind of led to removal of some of these. So the stage was removed in 2016 because that was rotted, as I mentioned. And we would have had to replace basically the entire stage to repair it. The picnic shelter was actually condemned in 2017, and we removed that. And then the play area had similar rotting issues, and so we removed that back in 2019. So these next few slides are going to kind of jump around a little bit timeline-wise because we had a lot of different things happening all at the same time, but the general time period is basically 2012 through 2020. And during that time period, we had a number of public involvement processes, everything from the South Wenatchee Action Plan to the Park Comprehensive Plan public involvement process. And a lot of those came forward and said, hey, we want to see this in Lincoln Park. We want to have this. And so that helped us develop then the plan for the park. And that actually even continued all the way up into COVID when we had some drive-through and walk-up events trying to get additional input on playground equipment. Some specific goals in the comprehensive plan, specifically to Lincoln Park. And so that's putting in the pump track or the pump park, the picnic shelter. And then also the Lincoln Park is our third ranked remaining park CIP project. So now once we developed the plan for the park back in about 2015, 2016, developed the master plan, and it really focuses on this area that's outlined in yellow here, and we'll go through that right now. So the project area starting at the top will be improving some of the parking lots, so we're getting rid of the free-for-all parking that's down there and actually striping it and improving it. Replacing the stage with a stage that's closer to the ground, handicap accessible, new restrooms, WWRP grant, it's also within the LWCF grant through the state, and then the Rotary donation, they wanted to see that pump park piece built. So specifically for the pump park, so when we started the very first design, I actually talked to Travis way before he was on council, in about 2015, I want to say, about a pump park and whether Evergreen would be interested in doing a dirt pump park and something like that in the park. And he said, yeah, I think we can probably do something like that. So we developed the budget and incorporated that into the various funding sources that we tried to get. And some advantages of the dirt tracks, like you see here, the one on the, I guess it's the left is Cashmere and the one on the right is in Bellingham. It's really cheap to build, or cheaper to build, I should say. And then if it's not being used, you can just bulldoze it over and start over. There is also some negatives to that too, that it's really kind of hard to maintain and labor intensive, especially if you get rain or snow, which we never do. And then it dries out too and ruts out and various things. So there's some challenges there. But as we went through and I should also mention, so we had this up located in the corner kind of Medhow and Crawford Street in that section. Then as we've gone through the design process and moved it along a bit, we found that Evergreen, we could take an existing pump park plan and just save some design cost by putting it in the park, but we needed a bigger footprint. So to do that then, we looked at the other end of the other corner of the park, so the kind of the southwest corner. And then we also had all the ologists out. So we have the geologists and the archaeologists and all those folks out digging holes all over the park to do soil testing and sampling. And we found that the soil up on that hillside was much more stable because if you remember back to that very first picture, that was sort of out of the landfill area. So a couple of benefits of moving it down to that site. So we moved it down in the lower area. Then we had some additional design development and looked at the park further. And after several discussions, decided that a paved pump park would be a better way to go from a long-term standpoint. From a maintenance standpoint, it's way easier to maintain. Once it's there, you're pretty well golden. It looks better also, but it also then serves a greater variety of users. So not only can bikes use it, but you can see scooters out there, you can see skateboarders out there, you see and all the toy wheel type folks out there using it. So after those discussions, we got approval and we moved ahead with that design. And so for the last year, we've been working on the design of the actual paved pump park that would go out there. It's about the size, to equate it, it's about the size of a full court basketball court out there. So kind of taking it to the next step, June of this last year, we went out and did a small works roster solicitation for construction. We sent it out to over 220 companies on the small works roster. We received one bid. Fortunately, that bid was from a qualified contractor, Evergreen Mountain Bike Alliance, and they built the pump park over in East Wenatchee. So they've got experience doing it, and we're comfortable with their quality of work. The bid was under the engineer's estimate, but it's kind of in the range that we were anticipating for the paved type of pump park. And so we took the construction contract to the Finance Committee, the Public Works Committee, and our consulting engineers, who's Pacific Engineering, and then staff. And we're recommending acceptance of that contract and authorizing the mayor to sign it. If it's approved tonight, we think that this should be done and ready for use by mid-October of this year. And then the rest of the park, all those other things that we talked about early on, that would go to bid then also right at the end of October, early November for a 2022 construction for all the rest of that stuff. So with that, I'll try to answer any questions you might have.
What time will the lights go off on the pump park?
Well, you can see in this picture, we've got them all lit up right there on the stage. So everybody's got the lights out.
So Dave, I had a couple of questions. You mentioned some irregularities in the bid, but you were able to waive those. Just curious what that was.
They forgot to sign a form. Yeah, it
I
was
was hoping
nothing.
it was something really
Yeah, it
simple
was
like
not,
that.
and they signed it and submitted it.
And then if I'm reading this correctly, they're also putting in 10,000 of their own money as a grant?
And we're kind of working with them to potentially provide some additional donations.
Okay.
So
And then they're able to use volunteer labor to get it done as well?
they can use some volunteer labor, yeah.
How does that
That's-
work being a city project?
They did that over at Eastmont too. We've used volunteer projects for a number of projects, Rotary Park, for example. That's a lot of volunteer stuff there.
I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, the pictures that are in Dave's packet is the Eastmont project, and they have to actually shovel in the asphalt and then hand compact it. I know Travis worked on the one at East Wenatchee, and all volunteer people, and building that was pretty cool.
Is there a way to get, an outreach of the kids that will be using it to have them get some sweat equity in there as well?
Yeah, some of it, and I think that's what Evergreen is planning on doing if they get the contract award. They'll have the skilled workers who do the actual shaping, but they'll need bodies to wheelbarrow stuff. And that's they call the arms basically when they're ready for it.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah, we talked about it, Public Works, and, Travis had some questions, answered some good questions about, why pavement is better, and hopefully kids wear their helmets, and but it's just a longer term. You're paying more for it up front, but way less in maintenance. And I don't know, you've got the dirt one in Cashmere. How are they handling that? Is it just a maintenance nightmare?
It's not horrendous, but it certainly could be, they could be doing more. I know they're out there, and I think Evergreen is still involved, going out there doing volunteer work crews to do it. It's a muddy mess, though, half the time, because there's not really any drainage in it. So the one that we would have will have catch basins and actual drainage. That one, it just pools up, so you have these pools of compacted mud, which is fun.
Yeah.
But
Fun for some.
it's hard to maintain that then, because it ruts out and everything.
In terms of the bigger part of the project that we look at kicking off in 2022, how might that affect some of the activities that traditionally occur at the park, whether it be Fiestas Mexicanas is usually late in the year, but say baseball, Wenatchee Pride, activities like that. How will that affect?
Yeah, as far as construction goes, the events, they pretty well have expected construction like this year, but COVID has bumped everything. So Fiestas and all those groups, we've told them that construction's coming. Same with baseball. The construction actually won't impact, longer term, it'll be a benefit to them.
Right.
Short-term though, construction, yeah, Fiestas already isn't really planning on moving with their event this year. And Pride is looking at doing it at Memorial Park instead this year. Because with COVID, and then we thought we would be under construction. So next year, then we would be under construction, most likely during those events. I don't know that we'll make it open in time for Fiestas. That would be the goal, but I don't know that we'll quite make it.
Yeah, I was just wondering, I call it the pent-up demand to do things.
Yes.
It was lost last year, lost this year, so it's actually, I was just wondering how that might.
And the Fiestas is going through a organizational change. The coordinators who have done it for the last several years, at least 8 or 9 years, are not really interested in doing it again. So there may be some changes on that for that event anyway. And then actually this new configuration of a couple other things is going to open up some new avenues for sledding going all the way back to the early 1968 master plan that was there, which has been impacted. So that's a good thing.
Are you assuming we'll have snow again?
Yeah. We may have to do like we used to for Flake Fest and cart it in from Mission Ridge.
Yeah. All right, any questions for David? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion for City Council to authorize the mayor to sign a standard construction agreement with Evergreen Mountain Bike Alliance in the amount of $181,488.88 for the construction of Lincoln Park Pump Park project.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Huffaker, second by Councilmember Harold. To authorize the mayor to sign a standard construction agreement with Evergreen Mountain Bike Alliance in the amount of $181,448.88 for the construction of the Lincoln Park Pump Park project. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, David.
Great, thank you.
All right, so we have one public hearing item tonight. This is regarding the annexation of DJML LLC with a parcel of property near Horse Lake Road. For purposes of a public hearing, we'll hear from staff. We'll ask questions of staff, and then we'll turn over to the public for any comment they might have, and then over to the council for any action they may be willing to take. So I'll turn it over to Brooklyn and Glenn and get us started.
Good evening, Brooklyn Holton, Neighborhood and Community Services Coordinator. We have the DJML annexation with ordinance 2021-21. There is a single owner of 3 parcels off of Horse Lake Road. They submitted their application in March. It was approved, and then the resolution 2021 at the end of June was approved by council to enter into the public hearing and adopt the ordinance. Because it's just one owner, we've had 100% value in terms of the signature, so the county has certified and provided all the documentation. After this process, there's a 60-day waiting period for the effectiveness of this ordinance so that agencies and anybody that has interest in the property is able to update their information, any billing or GIS or mapping applications. And then at that point, it would probably, it'd go effective in September, and then there would just be a census completion at the end of that. There's no development on the property right now. It's vacant. And so I think the owners submitted that and we didn't get any, the value for that one wasn't high enough to bring anybody else in. So that's why we kept with that one owner. So tonight, you'd be approving ordinance 2021-21 to essentially formalize the annexation process and bring them into the city after the 60-day effective period.
And for those watching at home, this is the third time the council has seen this because we see it at the 10% and when we set the public hearing. So this is the third time that we have seen the DJML LLC annexation.
Right.
Okay, any questions for Brooklyn or Glenn? Any members of the audience wish to address the city council on this public hearing item regarding the annexation of DJML LLC into the city of Wenatchee? Seeing no takers, I will turn it over to the council for any action they may be willing to take.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion for the council to approve ordinance number 2021-21, providing for the annexation of unincorporated lands located along Horse Lake Road bordered to the east by parcels in the city, otherwise fully bordered by unincorporated parcels in right-of-way known as the DJML annexation, subject to the provisions of ordinance number 2007-34 and all subsequent amendments thereto.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Kulas, second by Councilmember Harold, to adopt ordinance number 2021-21, providing for the annexation of unincorporated lands located along Horstake Road, bordered to the east by parcels in the city, otherwise fully bordered by unincorporated parcels and right-of-way known as the DJML annexation, subject to the provisions of ordinance 2007-34 and all subsequent amendments thereto. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Brooklyn. Thanks, Glenn. Glenn, you talk too much again. All right, mayor's report. I will tell you this, I know we haven't met officially since we got our infra grant award 2 weeks ago tomorrow, but obviously staff's pretty excited. As Rob Jammerman prepares to tell us, we're now trying to figure out how to eat the elephant. And it's, I guess it's one bite at a time. So we've met 2 or 3 times, just getting our bearings straight, and we'll be meeting with DOT soon and others as we sort of put together a game plan. I met with the PUD just the other day. So it seems like things are moving along pretty well. We got some hurdles to get to, NEPA being one of them. And we'll be probably having some public outreach with the PUD soon on that. We got a couple of months before actually Congress has to ratify the list, and then we'll start be working with the US DOT on some sort of contract and term sheet under which we would continue to work through completing the project. So some good news. Obviously, we got about roughly 10% of the total. I think we were the largest in this round, 92.4 million. I think they gave out slightly over $900 million. So pretty incredible for your staff that have worked on it pretty hard, and our consultants and everybody. So I was afraid that if we didn't get infra soon, that this whole thing was going to sort of go away. We needed a win in order to get the momentum going. So pretty excited about where that was at. Other than that, Laura helped me a little bit. I was gone most of last week in Las Vegas, which is not a place to want to have to go. Seems like the 4th of July went well. Fireworks went, I know we had some conversations on a very hot day. The decision was made to not let folks into the park, but I think the fireworks display went pretty well. Sounds like we had some of our local friends doing their own displays that we have normally, but nothing caught on fire that I'm aware of that was out of the ordinary.
So next Tuesday, we have the hard hat tour for the residents and for the council to.
Okay, next Thursday. Yep.
Meet, everybody meet there. Is that the plan?
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll get to tour it before it's open. So that's exciting to get online soon. And then Monday, we have the state entrance, the auditors entrance meeting to start the process for this year's budget audit.
Yeah, and I'll be meeting with the WDA next Thursday at 2 to go over sort of what their wish list would be. We do have some more infra meetings as we kind of plug away at what all of this means, and we'll keep you posted as we sort of work our way through all of that, those sort of items. Council members, anything to add?
I will be on vacation next week, so I
Okay.
won't be here.
Okay, for the hard hat tour, okay?
I'm going to miss it.
Okay.
But trust me, I'll get a tour.
I know you will. Yeah. They'll be selling rooms there one of these days,
Yeah.
won't you?
They're already participating in RFPs, which is really good.
Okay. And it was interesting, we got our, I'm losing it, I think. So we got our hotel motel tax, and the $1 per room night, I looked at it and I go, God, it's doubled. Did we have that great of an April? I forgot we raised it from $1 to $2. So, yeah. I missed that. Thanks for the accounting staff for catching that. But and it seemed like the hotels had a pretty decent April. And so most of the tax revenues are all sort of working their way back. And
Things are looking up.
yeah, starting to see people out and about and doing stuff. And
Yeah, it's good. And on the 22nd, we have a finance committee, and I will have to miss that.
okay,
Is there anyone who would like to volunteer to take my place?
On the 22nd.
I'm already
I'm going to
on.
be here.
Oh,
Oh,
I know you're
no.
going to be there.
Yeah, so if one of you want to plug in on the 22nd, you can.
Volunteering?
No, I'm already here.
Oh, you already are.
I'll have to
already
look at
on
my
it.
calendar.
Oh,
Beg your pardon?
I'll have to look at my calendar, I'll let you know.
Okay, you guys can arm wrestle over that.
I can do it.
Can you? Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's, what's the date now specifically?
The 22nd.
22nd of
20
July.
22nd
And we meet at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, yeah. Okay.
Thank you. I am participating in the search for an executive director for the Performing Arts Center.
Oh, good, okay.
Mhm.
Heard they were out and they've got their play ready to go?
Beg your pardon?
Got Mamma Mia or something ready to go? What are
Yeah,
they doing?
it's going to
Okay.
be, I think it's September they're coming,
okay.
so that'll be good.
Yeah.
Exciting things. Some of their staff has come back to work.
Okay, good. I know they got a Shuttered Venues grant or something for sure. They got maybe they wanted the governor's grant. So they've got a little bit of money to help get them jump started again. Anything else for the good of the order? So we'll see you all at the Hard Hat at the new Marriott next Thursday at 4 o'clock.
All right.
All right,
Is that the
till
one
then,
that's,
we're adjourned.